Good evening. I'd like to call this, ooh, here we go. Good evening and welcome. I'd like to call this November 5th, 2024 school board meeting to order. It is now 6 p.m. The school board would like to take this moment to respectfully acknowledge we are residing on the traditional land of the Dene people. Our mission is to provide an excellent, equitable education in a safe, supportive environment so all students will succeed and contribute to a diverse and changing society. If you all please join me in our national anthem, or in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Richardson, would you please call the roll?
Miss Charlie,
Here.
Mr. Shannon,
Here.
Colonel Cole,
Here.
Colonel Foster,
Here.
Mr. Burgess,
Here.
Mrs. Hardy,
Here.
Miss Carol Hubbard,
Here.
Mr. Doran,
Here.
Miss Julian,
Here.
Miss Maple is excused, Mrs. Burnett.
Here.
Thank you, the board has a quorum.
Next up on the agenda, we have our ESP of the month. Tim Davis, lead custodian for Ben Eielson Junior Senior High School, will be recognized as the ESP of the month for November 2024 for his previous work. Bruce Bell, Ben Eielson Junior Senior High School principal, will make the presentation.
Good evening. Tim, would you please come on up? Good evening. I'm Bruce Bell, currently assistant principal at Ryan Middle School, but recently been the principal at Ben Eielson Junior Senior High, and that's what brings me here this evening to give this recognition to Tim for the ESP, the Extra Special Person Award recognition. Tim served as our lead custodian at Eielson. Over the past, just looking at the last 2 years of the school, it was kind of tough staffing wise. Of the 24 months, we went 15 months without a day custodian. So that puts a lot of pressure on Tim as the evening custodian. Then also just with that, just the logistics of a small school, being a 3A school, we have our competition. All of our teams come from out of state, or out of town, I mean, and stay in the school. So not only does he prep the school, take care of the school business and the needs of the building, but then also our visiting teams were there. Snow removal was a challenge. Often Tim could be right behind on the snow blower. I would be chasing him with the four-wheeler just to try to keep up with our needs of the building. But really, I think what stood out is it was a challenge during the last few months on closure, and it put a lot of pressure on Tim, and he handled it well, and helped organize and get our building ready just day in and day out. And that's why I nominated him as the ESP Person of the Month. But thank you, Tim.
Next, we'll have the recognition of Fanta Lee Sanko. Fanta Lee Sanko is being recognized for her article in the NEA Today, Breaking the Cycle of Bad Behavior, and for being named NEA Alaska Education Support Professional of the Year. ESSA President April Johnson will make the presentation.
So, Fanta, she serves as my vice president within ESSA, but beyond that, she's been recognized for her work as an intervention prevention specialist, both locally as a write-up in our daily news minor, as the state for being the ESP of the year, and at the national level for the work she's done and continues to do for her students. And she's just an absolutely amazing person.
Awesome, and I wanted to brag on Fanta too. And so thanks for joining us as we celebrate Fanta. As Ms. Johnson just said, Fanta was named the 2025 NEA Alaska Education Support Professional of the Year. This award is the highest recognition for classified public employees in Alaska, and it highlights her unwavering commitment to her work, her compassion for students, and her impact that extends far beyond the walls of any classroom or school. Every year, NEA Alaska selects one outstanding ESP for this honor, and this year, Fanta stood out among many exceptional candidates throughout the state. Tom Claymeyer, president of NEA Alaska, summed it up best. Fanta's dedication to students' mental health, her profession, and her community is truly exceptional. Fanta's support for students goes beyond simply helping them academically. She's a pillar of emotional support, a listening ear, and a source of strength. And it's not just students who benefit from her presence. April Johnson, president of the Education Support Staff Association, called Fanta an invaluable member of our union and an indispensable asset to the staff of West Valley. Her colleagues know that she's always there for them, sharing her expertise, offering guidance, and fostering a collaborative, supportive environment that lifts everyone up around her. Fanta's work doesn't stop when she leaves the school building. Outside of her role as the prevention intervention specialist, she works for the state of Alaska, helping adolescents and young adults with developmental and physical disabilities find and maintain employment. This work speaks volumes about her dedication to creating opportunities and building better futures for others. Additionally, as vice president of the local association, she is a powerful advocate for public school funding, using her voice to ensure that all students have the resources they need to thrive. We've seen the difference Fanta makes in the lives of at-risk students at West Valley High School, but now her impact is being recognized statewide. As her colleagues and her community, we are incredibly proud to see her honored with this award. As superintendent, it's a privilege to witness the dedication and tireless efforts that Fanta brings to her role every day, and it's great to see Fairbanks educators being recognized on the state and national scale. Fanta, on behalf of everyone here and throughout the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District, thank you. Thank you for your unwavering commitment, your endless compassion, and your steadfast dedication to improving the lives of others. Congratulations on this well-deserved recognition, and we look forward to seeing the impact you'll continue to make, not only here in Fairbanks, but around the state. And we did get you a little something. Thank you to April for helping us out with this. When I saw you recognized in the NEA Alaska magazine, we want to have it framed for use as a keepsake for you to keep into the future. So, yeah.
Next up is our 2024 ASA Boys Tennis Double State Champions. Two members of the West Valley High School tennis team recently won the 2024 Boys Tennis Double State Championship. Tennis coach Sabine Siekman will introduce the players and make the award presentation.
Well, I'd like to honor two very amazing, outstanding young gentlemen. I've had the pleasure of coaching them for officially the last 3 years, but I'd say unofficially the last 4 years, since I was parent volunteer when they were freshmen. And I wanted to just recognize the contributions they make on the tennis court, but also in the lives of everybody they touch. They've been captains of the team. They would lead the warm-ups. They would bring water for their friends and opponents, always share the snacks with anybody who wants one, who needs one. They always have a friendly word and a word of advice for anybody who needs it. So it's really a pleasure to be coaching such amazing talent and also wonderful human beings. So I'm very proud that I was a part of their development. And I'd like to recognize the accomplishment that they achieved. This year, we have not had indoor tennis courts in Fairbanks since 2017, which is also coincidentally the last time somebody from Fairbanks won a state title in tennis, so it's been a long time. And them achieving this with only really having 4 months of tennis available in Fairbanks is really quite remarkable. The fashion they won too is something to recognize. This year, whenever they played down in Anchorage, all the coaches would show up. They'd all like, oh, I want to see these boys play. I want to come and see these boys play. Because they play smart, they play hard, and they play fair. And they play as brothers, and they have fun. All of those things together make for an amazing chemistry on the court, which in doubles, you know, everybody thinks of tennis as an individual sport, but when you go out there with your partner and with your brother and with your twin, then it has a whole another meaning. So congratulations for everything you've achieved, and it's been my honor to be part of that journey for you.
And just real quick, I want to say congratulations, Jakin and Logan. Up next, we have our 2024 ASA Flag Football State Championships. The North Pole High School Patriots flag football team recently won the 2024 State Flag Football Championship. Jamie Darby, head coach, will introduce the players and make the award presentation.
Hi, I'm Coach Jamie Darby, and it's been a pleasure these last few years coaching the ladies. We've been really fighting to have this sanctioned, and finally getting it sanctioned has been amazing. The girls, we have 21 girls on the team. You know, this year they worked really hard. They took first in district, first in conference, and first in state in the very, very first ever sanctioned year ever. So it's a huge accomplishment, and it put little North Pole on the map and show that just a small school can actually take something that's really big, especially how big it's getting across the nation. So I'm really proud of them. So I will start with Jordy Darby. Joyce. Nevaeh Wilson. Haley Hart. Taylor Davis. Jordan Colby. Miley Flayak. Bailey Borgen. Jade Skips. Caitlin Castor. Riley Smith. Kennedy Grime. Cameron Williams. Amara States. Brooklyn Steimel. Oh, sorry. There's some of them that last minute call that couldn't come. Alina Sipes. Monty Skips. Violet Hart. And what do we have? And Samantha Davis. So, and some of the ones that weren't here tonight, Brooklyn Kennedy, Aurora, Maya Guzman, and Taylor Davis, and Tiana Guzman, all essential to the team. Something came up, a couple of them weren't able to make it just due to illness and everything. So, but yeah, all of them, I mean, pretty big team already, just even with missing those girls. Super excited for the future of the sport. Super excited to see how many more girls come out and play. And couldn't be prouder than these girls. Thank you. Please line up and we're gonna take a picture. Shorter in front. You guys know this? How many pictures did we have to take this year? Okay. One's Neil in the front, and then Amara, come over this way, Jordy. Scoops. Yeah. Everybody kind of squish it a little bit more. Perfection. Thank you.
Next up, we have the adoption of our agenda. Consent agenda items marked with an asterisk are considered routine items not requiring public discussion by the school board. Unless removed from the consent agenda, asterisk items will be automatically approved when the agenda is adopted. Questions concerning these items should be directed to the administration before the meeting. If the superintendent or a member of the public wishes to have an item removed from the consent agenda, the request must be made to a board member anytime prior to the start of the meeting. The board member has the discretion to accept or deny the request. Only a board member may remove an item from the consent agenda. If an item is removed from the consent agenda, it shall be considered separately as the last item of new business. Asterisk items will then be adopted by one single motion. May I get a motion?
Move to adopt the agenda with consent items.
Second.
Ms. Richardson, would you please call the roll?
Colonel Foster,
Yes.
Colonel Cole,
Yes.
Miss Charlie,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Yes.
Mrs. Hardy,
Yes.
Mr. Burgess,
Yes.
Miss Julian,
Yes.
Miss Carol Hubbard,
Yes.
Mr. Dorn,
Yes.
Mrs. Burnett.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next is public comments on reports and non-agenda items, including general comments. Input, ideas, and suggestions are welcome. During this section of the agenda, the school board welcomes public comments on non-agenda topics. This is an opportunity for community members to be heard. The board will note the topics, though no official actions will be taken. Topics may be referred to the administration for further research and for future potential action. Board members will not respond to comments or questions made by the public. Concerned citizens should first discuss matters with the superintendent or designee. After the superintendent or designee has heard the concerns, they may be brought to the board. Individual students and district personnel may not be discussed in public testimony. Please contact the district office to route concerns about individual students or district personnel through the appropriate channels. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to speak on agenda items at the time the item is introduced for action and/or discussion. Once the agenda is published, testifiers should email or call the school board office by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting to sign up for public testimony. Students who have signed up in advance or are in the room and wishing to testify will be called upon first, followed by members of the public who have signed up in advance in the order in which they have signed up. If time remains, anyone else in person will be invited to testify until the 1-hour time limit has been reached. A sign-up sheet is available in the boardroom before the start of the meeting for those who have not already signed up in advance. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each and should provide their first name, spell their last name, and state their area of residence. First up on the list, we have Adia Cotter.
Hello, my name is Adia Cotter, and I live in the McGrath area. I wrote my comments down this time so that that clock doesn't throw me off. I am a firm believer that a positive education experience and quality public education happens in an environment that fulfills a student's basic needs and a sense of belonging before any learning can actually take place. I know sometimes social emotional learning and an emphasis on environment has a negative connotation and it can be criticized as a distraction from actual learning, but I disagree with that. In celebration of American Education Week, I would like to publicly thank teachers and staff that have been essential to my kids' education. They can be a lot, and they've had teachers and staff that have figured them out and have certainly provided that positive education experience. I would like to publicly thank them by name. Can I do that? Okay, great. I should have asked that first. I'd like to publicly thank them by name and recognize the teachers and staff that I've worked with in other capacities that have shown that they're committed to ensuring our students feel secure and valued and foster positive relationships, all the things that have to take place before actual learning can happen. And I will do this quickly so I don't miss anyone. Linda Kang, Julie Weber, Karen Millington, Maria Morrison, Moira Westervelt, Joanna Mackey, Kelly Thrun, Laverne Hawkinson, Elizabeth Peterson, Jen Duncan, Allison Curry, Joanne Gilman, Kim Kelly, Brandy Bryce, Stevie Falucos, Keith Lindsay, Mike Paul, Hannah Munzingo, Stephanie Taylor, Tumi Traustason, Gary Grassi, Joseph Reuter, and many other teachers that I couldn't remember, and my kids were no help helping me remember who they were. I just want to publicly thank all the people on that list and the many more educators, staff, administrators, all the people that contribute to the education of our kids in this community. It's really important that they have a positive experience. It's really important that they actually learn facts as well. But I think, building them into wonderful humans is just as important as learning math or English. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Up next, we have Gail McBride.
Gail McBride with Moms for Liberty, MCBRIDE. First, I'd like to welcome Member Doolian and Member Burnett. President Burnett, and was making notes, and Member Hubbard. We're looking forward to working with the new school board throughout the year to accomplish good things for the students in the community. We will be working toward a positive, safe environment for all students to ensure our schools can never be accused of being one of those schools to surgery pipeline. We will work to help bring the latest scientific medical information to ensure our schools are on the right side of history in protecting children. One, where curriculum and library material is helpful and educational, not detrimental to our students' mental health. Sexually explicit material does not belong in a school library and is damaging to young minds. One, where academics are the focus of every classroom and the North Star School District can be considered an example of achievement. We are committed to educating parents and encouraging more parental involvement to build a better educational experience for our students. We are looking forward to a greater open communication with the school board and superintendent with the goal of helping every student and teacher possible. And on another note, you are all invited to our next movie showing on November 16th at 2 p.m. conference room at the Noel Wingen Library, and we will be watching Beneath Sheep's Clothing. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Up next, we have Cynthia Wozniak.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Wozniak, WOZNIAK, Fairbanks resident. I have here the rule of if in doubt, get it out. Until there is a resolve between all, why not remove the books that are in question and dispute, and the LGBTQ agenda also from the schools? Why were these issues voted in to begin with when there was not any agreement on them with especially the opposing majority? Why not remove these issues until there is some sort of resolve between all and quit wasting time and energy at every meeting? And on another issue, when and if any kid comes to school down and out, confused, why not get them up with the truth instead of agreeing with them on all the lies and confusion and unstable feelings and emotions about gender identity, etc.? Why not redirect them and encourage them, build them up and edify them with truth instead of steering them down the road of lies and more confusion and encouragement of being LGBTQ? Why not emphasize their true God-given identity that they are and were born with, steer them in the right direction / truth instead of lies and made up fake news, fake agendas? Why sow into them all this very confusing nonsense, binary, non-binary pronouns, etc., made up fake cultural lies? Why not direct them with God's direction of his truth, his plans, and his policies? And wow, what a burden on all the teachers having to learn all this unnecessary nonsense that was not even a part of their required education to teach to begin with. Why not stop all this and let them get back to basics of teaching, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and leave the changing cultural issues to the parents to teach their own kids. Ephesians 5:11 have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. Psalms 33:15, the Lord God who fashions each heart observes, sees all your deeds. Psalms 33:10, the Lord God Almighty is and can frustrate your plans. So you might want to repent. This means to turn from this evil you are entertaining and commingling with, and especially involving his children in. Before you leave him no choice but to take matters into his own hands and have to release his wrath on it all and on all involved. Yes, he's a loving father, and in fact, he is love. However, he is also a just father. His judgment means justice, and there are two of his many names. They are two of his many names, and very much his character. So you might want to consider moving in his direction and out of the wrong, evil direction you've been going in before him and his wrath move swiftly. and
Thank you for your
suddenly.
testimony, Ms.
Just
Wozniak.
saying. Thank you.
Next up will be our Borough Assembly report. Liz Reeves Ramos, Borough Assembly member, will provide the report.
We didn't ask if there was more testimony.
Oh, I'm
in
sorry.
the room.
I apologize. Is there any more testimony? I will get used to this. Not seeing any public testimony is now closed. And now we will move on to our Borough Assembly report.
Good evening. Welcome to the new school board members, sorry. Not a lot has happened since the last time we gave an update to you guys. We will sit as our new assembly with the new Assembly Member Wilson on Thursday. We will do nominations for reorganization, and then the week following we'll vote. We recently passed a parking ordinance that kind of loosened up the restrictions on parking in the downtown area, which is pretty exciting, and hopefully can make things easier for businesses down there and encourage growth. I think that's all that I have to update you guys on, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions from the board? Not seeing any. Thank you, Ms. Liz Reeves Ramos.
Got off easy tonight. Thanks, guys.
Next on the agenda, we have our advisory members' reports and comments. We'll start down here with the colonels. Do we have anything?
I would just like to formally welcome Ms. Dooley and Ms. Carol Hubbard to the board. We look forward to working with you. And Fort Wainwright looks forward to your contributions to the school board and contributions to our military-connected children in the school district. I'd also like to just let everyone know that I've recently asked my Child and Youth Services organization. We do a lot of stuff with homeschool, for our children that are homeschooling on base. We've got some programs with them. I've asked them to get with our school liaison officer to work with BEST to try and synchronize some of the activities and programs that they're doing so that they're similar to what BEST is doing, and see if we can get together and collaborate with some of the programs that my educators are doing with more in line with what they're experiencing with the homeschool for the district here. And I believe Dr. Meinart, we might have had some communications in the last week or two with some of our parents, as well as from some members on base, especially with your director of transportation. A lot of concerns lately with the disruption in bus services for picking up and dropping off children on the installation. A lot of backup drivers or newer drivers not knowing where bus stops are 30, 45 minutes late with picking up children. And a lot of concerned parents for what that's going to look like in the future. A lot of new parents you know, when it's a little bit colder outside with kids waiting for the buses. So not knowing if they're going to be out there for 30, 40 minutes waiting for the bus to show up. So that's all I have. Ladies, welcome to the board. Look forward to working with you.
Colonel Foster?
Just real simply, I just want to welcome the two new teammates that we have on the board. So look forward to working with you, and I don't have any other comments to share this evening. Thank you.
Miss Charlie?
Thank you. Also, I just want to welcome our two new board members, also Lola Morgan Doolin. Welcome to the board. I look forward to working with you. I also want to congratulate the other Melissa on the board as our new president. Congratulations. I also would just like to acknowledge our Get Out the Native Vote, who have been working for the past 10 years, encouraging young Native people to get out and vote. They've been working with FE students and different, working with high school students and just encouraging them to vote for the first time once they turn 18 and encouraging them to become lifelong voters. And they've been doing a lot of great work for over 10 years now in our community. And I just want to acknowledge them and what they've been doing. Thank you.
Mr. Shannon?
Yeah, so I too would like to congratulate the two new members of this board. I really look forward to working with everybody here. As for anything going on with students, yeah, we just had our fall conference for the Alaska Association of Student Governments. I unfortunately was not there, but members, students in our district passed a lot of really good resolutions, many of which I'm working with the authors to make sure they get to this board to have them reviewed. A lot of really good stuff. I've read a few of them over. So yeah, I'll get those sent out once I talk with those authors. Other than that, we don't have a whole lot going on right now. I feel like things are pretty good.
Thank you. And next up will be board committee reports. Do we have any committee reports from any of our board members? Mr. Burgess?
Just a note that the curriculum committee, we haven't met, but there is some curriculum out for comment right now. It's music. It's out until November 15th for comment. So we would appreciate anybody's feedback on that. Members of the public can find that on the district's website. There's a link right on the front page to the Teaching and Learning Department, I believe. And our next meeting is on the 21st of November. Thanks.
Mr. Dorn?
Thank you. Want to give out a report for the Budget Committee. At our last meeting, the focus was to using the priority tool that Mr. DeGraw and his team put together, which were primarily some thoughts that have come up in previous budget discussions. That was our starting point. And then we prioritized them in our discussion there. I will say this is preliminary. The board will get a full report from a full committee report written up and presented actually by Ms. Julian, because she'll be the next chair of the budget committee. But I thought it was helpful to give you some sense of our conversations. What we, rather than ranking them as such right now, the group was looking at saying, where would those priorities fall? High, medium, or low? And so the ones we particularly looked at on October 23rd is the issues were, it was consolidation of facilities, schools, rather than looking at saying, should we close elementary schools or middle school or a high school? The conversation really went around consolidation. There needs to be some sort of consolidation of our facilities, and that as a committee, we didn't really have the details to say whether it should be an elementary, a middle, or high, or some other facility within the district. But that was a very high priority in terms of looking as we developed the budget. On the other end of the scale was PTR, pupil-teacher ratios. That got a very low rating, and even into the if at all consideration. But then calendar reduction, there have been conversations about that to reduce the school calendar by some number of days. That was low priority. Contracting out custodial services had a high priority. Technology replacement fell in the medium range, and curriculum materials was a medium to high. The looking at both of those areas were the tools for teachers to be able to use for the benefit of students. And then transportation fell into the low area, again, because if you can't get students to school, they can't learn. So they were trying to look at the impacts on learning across the board, whether it was consolidation, again, the focus being on student learning and what can benefit that and provide the best services within that. So next, going forward, the committee members were asked to submit suggestions that could be considered for reductions, investments, or keepers. We don't want to lose something that our stakeholders feel is extremely important to have. And we'll be moving forward with that to again look at prioritizing those in those high, medium, low ranges. And then, as I mentioned, we're looking at bringing a report to the board from the committee, and that'll be at our December meeting. So we have 2 meetings left this month, November 13th and 20th. So we're moving along, and really, just want to say I'm thrilled with the participation and the engagement from the committee members. And I believe we do have 1 parent vacancy. So if there's someone who's out there and wants to be considered for that, please contact the central office for that. So.
Thank you, Mr. Doran. Any other board members with anything? All right, that will bring us to the president's report. So I'd like to begin by congratulating once again the West Valley High School Tennis Double State Championship winners and the North Pole Patriots Flag Football State Champions. One of the most rewarding aspects of serving on the sport is not only witnessing student success in academics, but also recognizing achievements both inside and outside the classroom. Your talent and dedication in your respective activities are a testament to the outstanding students you are. Congratulations on your well-deserved victories. High school hockey kicked off to a great start this past weekend. West Valley secured a victory over Diamond High School for the first time in 4 years. The Pump House Jamboree was a fantastic event bringing together local high schools, including Delta, Tri-Valley, Homer, and Monroe joining our local 3. I want to extend my gratitude to the district and Mr. Sawchuk for their efforts in reestablishing the Lathrop High School hockey team. Seeing the purple and gold back on the ice is a testament to the commitment of our families and community, especially since hockey is not district funded. This past week, the board continued its strategic planning work in partnership with Education Elements. During our Tuesday meeting, we reviewed a proposed mission and vision statement, along with values and pillars that will guide our efforts. The mission and pillars are centered on community partnership, educational excellence, investing in people, and supporting choice and access. Dr. Miner and his team will be following up with the community prior to winter break with opportunities for feedback on our initial drafts. The facilities utilization group also convened and is nearing completion of a school consolidation framework, which we hope to also have finalized and out by the end of the month. In policy news, the board has begun work on the district's AI and academic integrity policies. They will come up for a first reading at our November 19th meeting. Additionally, we are working on a new cell phone policy set for potential implementation for next year. This policy will be discussed at coming work sessions. The board is also preparing to attend the Alaska Associations of School Boards Conference here in Anchorage this coming up week, where we will have the opportunity to collaborate with other districts, attend boardmanship academies, and develop policy ideas and bring them back to our district. Over the coming weeks, I'll be visiting schools, including North Pole Elementary and Salcha Elementary this week, followed by Effie Cochran next week. Finally, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Mrs. Julian and Mrs. Carol Hubbard as they join us for their first of many Tuesday night board meetings. Welcome, ladies. And that will wrap it up for me, and that will bring us to our superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, President Burnett. And I would also like to extend my congratulations to the student athletes we saw this evening. Wanted to tell a little story. This wasn't planned, but as the individuals from the North Pole High School flag football team were standing up here today, just wanted to talk about the positive impact our high school students can have on young youth in our community. I had the opportunity to watch the state championship game on the NFHS network, and my daughter was sitting there with me, and she's like, "Ooh, what is this?" And she had not really been exposed to flag football before. We had tried to get to some games, but they started a little earlier, so we didn't make it out to a game together this year. And for the first time, she saw a flag football game on TV, and she's like, I think I really like this. And so I've never seen her glued to any kind of sporting event for more than a minute or two, and she sat down and watched the entire game with me. And so I think we're well on the way to having a future flag football player for West Valley here in the future. But it was so great to talk to the coach, Coach Darby, prior to their presentation tonight, and just talk about the feeder systems and the ideas they have in place to continue to promote flag football here in the interior. And so just wanted to have a shout out for that team, and then also just call on the positive impact our student athletes and students in all kinds of things are having on younger youth. They often don't realize that younger youth are looking up to them, but certainly my daughter and my son are watching, and so thank you for that opportunity. Wanted to welcome the two new board members, be on board with that as well. Thank you for your willingness to run for this really challenging seat. We have some challenges ahead in terms of the work that we have to do, but have been so impressed by both of your campaigns and the things that you stand for. And so looking forward to working side by side to achieve great things for students this year. This year, the school district is working on implementing a naloxone training that came out of new legislation from the state legislature last year that requires all schools to have naloxone medication at the schools in case of an overdose by any individual that's within our facility. And the requirement is to have a trained individual at all school-sponsored events. And so we're working through that process right now to ensure that our front office staff, our administrators, any coaches or advisors do have that training so that we can provide aid in case of a need within our district offices or our school facilities. I got asked to provide an enrollment report at the last school board meeting. And so now that the 20-day count has concluded, unfortunately, I have to report that we're down 635 students from last year. Our biggest loss of students is at military-connected schools, seeing the biggest drops at Anderson, Crawford, and Arctic Light, as well as Best Home School due to some restrictions we put in place with dual-enrolled students at private schools from last year. It was interesting, though. I had our senior analyst start to dig into where we were losing students to, and the vast majority of our students that we lost are moving out of state. So a lot of the conversation of student loss in the state is oftentimes students pursuing other options such as homeschool or private school. And it was almost a one-to-one trade in a lot of those instances. And so our real loss that we're seeing here in the Fairbanks borough is due to demographic trends and students moving out of the state. The district did release an updated school calendar that utilizes 2 of the 3 makeup days that the board had adopted as part of their calendar process due to the inclement weather that we experienced. And so as of right now, fingers crossed, we won't have any other additional inclement weather days. The last day for students will be on May 21st, and the teacher's last day will be on May 22nd. a shout out to Weller Elementary School for hosting a Junior Achievement Day, and a huge thank you to Junior Achievement of Alaska and all the volunteers that made that JA in a day possible at Weller Elementary. Junior Achievement is something that we've had in the district for a long time, but had lost steam due to COVID. And so Weller's the first school that brought that back in a big way. It was a great day for our students that got to experience having Junior Achievement there. I was able to teach a lesson in the second grade classroom, and it was great to have conversations about wants and needs, personal finances, some career options, and what a community looks like. And so some great opportunities with Junior Achievement. We're going to continue the collaboration with them to bring additional opportunities to elementary schools, and then really lean on them to see if we can establish a partnership to do more career exploration activities at our middle school. That's one of our emphases for this year, is to ensure that middle school students understand and have knowledge of careers that are out there. So as they enter high school, they can pursue their passions and take advantage of the classes and CTE opportunities we have available for them. Wanted to give a shout out to our teaching and learning staff and all the teachers and educators that made our family literacy and math rally for our K-3 parents a success this past weekend. We hosted a mini conference at Anween Elementary School, and this was the first type of conference that we've put on for families in quite some time. And we had over 117 individuals show up to that event. We had 16 sessions planned for participants, and those rotated every hour for 3 hours. So lots of nice variety for families to learn different ways that they could support their student in math and literacy. And then we also provided childcare for 31 children that were there with their families. They got to play a bunch of different games in the gym, and we had some of our students from Arctic Light that are trained as Playworks facilitators help with those students and teach them new games. And so it looked like both students and their families had a good time at that event, and I know a lot of work went into it. So thank you to Kate LaPlante, Mr. Chainbeam, and all the individuals that put that event on. Wanted to give the board and the community an update on M-Class data. We have crunched the numbers on our fall screener, and I'm pleased to say that we've continued growth this fall. Last year was the first time we had given the M-Class screener, and so the first year you give an assessment, it's always your baseline, and you're never sure what that next year is going to bring, especially after a long summer. Sometimes you can see kind of a slide back or a dip. And I'm pleased to say that that did not happen. And so district-wide, we saw a tremendous amount of growth for our last year kindergartners and this year first graders. From fall of last year, 27% of them showed proficiency. This fall, 47% of them showed proficiency. For our now second graders, last fall, 42% were proficient. Now 53% are proficient. And for this year's third graders, last fall, 47% were proficient, and this fall, 57% were proficient. So tremendous growth in all of those areas. We saw several grade bands and individual schools go up more than 20 percentage points, and so there's lots of great things happening in our schools, and really positive growth and really positive momentum. So thank you for the IDEA team, the teaching and learning department, and all the teachers out there that are making these proficiency growths happen. And then lastly, a reminder that our next series of community conversations will be November 18th at 6 p.m. There is not a specific agenda for those community conversations. We really just invite you to this boardroom. We'll have roundtables set up. You come with the things that you would like to talk to myself and the school board members about, and we'd love to have those conversations and answer any questions that you may have. So that concludes my report, and happy to answer any questions for the board.
Mr. Dorn?
And I'm not sure whether this will go to you, Ms. Burnett, or to Dr. Martin. Could you give a quick update on where we are with strategic planning? I know we're marching through the year pretty quickly. We finished one of the task forces, but what's next?
Go ahead, Dr. Minor.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So last week we concluded 2 in-person events with Education Elements. Both our steering team and our facilities team had some time with Education Elements and working on their respective projects. The steering team is focusing on a new mission statement, a new vision statement, determining values that have been identified by our district stakeholders, and then main pillars. And so in the initial engagement opportunities that the steering team had, they looked at all of the data that Education Elements has collected via survey and focus group interviews, and that went into what these drafts look like. And so the draft mission statement as of right now is we partner with our community to create a supportive learning environment where all students thrive. The draft pillars currently are partnering with our community, achieving educational excellence, investing in our people, and supporting choice and access. And so at last week's steering team meeting, the majority of the time was spent on defining or clarifying what would go underneath each of those individual pillars. So what are the main things we want to focus on that would carry out that vision of the individual pillars? I see this draft wrapping up within the next month, and they're having and there will be some community feedback opportunities, either in the form of a survey or some roundtable conversations that we'll have with the community. Part of that depends on how fast Education Elements can turn around kind of a safe enough to share copy for us to share with the community. On the facilities front, that group really looked at finalizing the framework that the district administration would apply schools to determine what a short list of schools could look like for the school board to consider for school consolidations. We meet as a project team with Education Elements tomorrow to see what next steps might be for that facilities team. It might be that we have one more meeting with the facilities team to kind of wrap up that process, and we're hoping that framework will be completed by winter break. And then also there'll be some feedback opportunities from the community to ensure that we're on the right path there before district administration applies any schools to that framework.
Mr. Burgess?
Just want to say great news on the M-Class data and the growth there. That's really impressive. About the new Loxone training, I assume there's a cost associated with that, and with requiring personnel that are trained to be at events as well. Did the state provide any funding for that?
The state is providing the actual naloxone sprays for free to the school district, so that was a good help to the school district, as well as a training video that we will be utilizing with our staff. They didn't provide any specific funding for actually conducting the training or managing the training, which with any kind of new training that you have as a requirement for the school district, there is certainly personnel and administrative costs that go unnoticed in that. And so unfortunately, that did come as a bit of an unfunded mandate to the school district, but we're hopeful in the future that might get some direct funding to support those efforts.
Ms. Dullian?
Thank you, President Burnett. Dr. Minor, thank you. Congratulations on the M-Class data. Are there any things that you can report on that you can attribute those significant gains to?
Yeah, our teachers and our educators in the classroom, I mean, they've been working hard at this over the last couple of years. We've done a tremendous amount of professional development around the science of reading and what reading instruction looks like, and a recalibration around that. We also have really prescriptive intervention processes in place at all of our elementary schools That includes a Walk to Read program, which means students get intervention supports on a daily basis at their reading proficiency levels. We're doing that K through 8. Now, the READS Act was specifically K3, but we are looking at supporting literacy K12. And the K8 specifically is attributed to that Walk to Read program. So really it comes back to all hands on deck approach at our elementary schools. I mean, it's amazing that at the amount of people that are stepping up to support these efforts. We have our specials teachers, our PE teachers, our music teachers stepping in to help with reading groups. We have retired teachers that have asked to be a part of providing intervention services, and a lot of parent volunteers. And so really attributable just to all the hard work and the specific focus on literacy at our elementary schools that's really guiding this success.
Mr. Dorn?
Thanks for all of those reports, but particularly the last one you were talking about on the literacy and the reading. And I'm glad you mentioned the middle schools, that our district is stepping out and doing it. And I was able to watch one of the middle schools into their Walk to Read. And I think that's really significant. And I've heard the conversations among some of the high school administrators and staff in how they can address the reading needs for kids at that level. And especially as we have kids coming from, as you mentioned, we have a lot who've come into our district from other parts of the country and other parts of the state. And whenever they come in, whatever their needs are, we're ready to help them, as well as any kid who needs it along the way. So really appreciate those K-12 efforts.
Any other questions from the board? Not seeing any. That will take us to our policy work on Article 3. Article 3 is proposed to be revised and is before the board for first reading by administration. May I get a motion? Or do we do that first?
Move to approve first reading, public hearing, and advancement to a second reading and vote of Article 3.
Second.
Ms. Richardson, would you please call the roll? No? Sorry, we do the discussion. Apologies. Yeah.
Good evening. You ready for me? Yep. All right. So this is the first reading for Article 3. Article 3 is business and non-instructional operations. So this is aligns with, Article 3 aligns with two of our current policy chapters, Chapter 4, which is finance, and Chapter 7, which is support services non-instructional. The policies throughout Article 3 were reviewed and revised with administration and district staff over the last year and have been through multiple work sessions with the board. By adopting Article 3, we will replace all of Chapter 4 and then most of Chapter 7, but we will have a few policies on allergies, infectious diseases, and emergency plans that live in other articles that we have not gotten to yet. In addition, there are some policies in Article 3 that capture some policies from different chapters, and so I'm going to go ahead and just give you that list, but certainly if you want me to provide this to you by email afterwards, I can. With Article 3, we're going to be capturing 1025 student fees. Our gifts and donations policies, which are 3 policies, 1156 through 1156.2. 1380, which is prohibition of weapons on school property. 1390, pest management. 935.26, charter school transportation. 937.9, special education transportation. And 1061.3, school provided food and beverages. So those policies are from multiple chapters, and they will be replaced with Article 3 once it's adopted at second reading. And then brand new to our district, I just want to highlight that in this article, we have fixed asset capitalization, money in school buildings, intruders on campus, restrictions on sex offenders on campus, and free and reduced meal prices. And so those are policies that are brand new to our district. So with that, I'm here to take questions.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Dorn.
And I'm not sure how you would like to do this in the long run. I just have one suggestion, which is on page 6. It's Board Policy 3235, grants. The second line, it said the school board, it says the school board will seek appropriate sources of revenue, et cetera, which implies that we are actively going out to do that. And I would suggest that probably it may be better to say the school board seeks appropriate sources. And that's a little broader because actually the administration does a lot of the active reaching out, whether it be grants or opportunities under state or federal programs or private sources. Where kind of that overview, we can make certainly suggestions, but this really says that we're the ones who are going out to do that, and really the bulk of that work is the administration.
So do we have consensus with this on the board? We could do it as a motion to amend?
Okay, and maybe what I'll do is I'll wait until after public comment, and then I will make that motion to amend.
Okay. Is there anything else from the board? Mr. Dorn.
I just want to say a big compliment to Ms. Dillard and to the administration, but both in your presentation tonight, you're going through for the public a quick overview of the topics. It's got a lot of the topics, but I think this is a large section, and I really appreciate you doing that for the public so they have a sense of what's there. But also for capturing the many, many edits that school board members offered and the conversation, and then capturing the conversations. There were, as I went through it, there were sections that are there for that took rewording. It wasn't just an edit. It was like, how do you capture these ideas and brought that, and really, really well done. I just want to extend that compliment and recognition for all the work that went into that, and the listening to the lengthy work sessions and thoughts that are, and I guess with that, appreciation to the school board team for engaging in those conversations and looking at different aspects going into this policy.
Second.
With that, we will take it to public comment. Do we have any public comment on Article 3? Seeing none, public comment now closed. We will bring it back to the board. Mr. Dorn.
Then I move to amend in Board Policy 3235 grants on page 6, second line, that will be struck and seek becomes seeks. So we'll read school board seeks appropriate sources of revenue and continues on.
Second.
Ms. Richardson, would you please call the roll?
Miss Charlie,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Yes.
Colonel Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Cole, or Colonel Cole, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yes.
Mr. 2. Miss Carol Hubbard,
Yes.
Mr. Dorn,
Yes.
Mrs. Hardy,
Yes.
Miss Maple. Oh, I'm sorry, she's excused. Mr. Burgess.
Yes.
Ms. Julian,
Yes.
Mrs. Burnett.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And that will bring us back to the main motion as amended. Mrs. Richardson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Shamon,
Yes.
Colonel Foster,
Yes.
Colonel Cole,
Yes.
Miss Charlie,
Yes.
Mr. Doran,
Yes.
Mrs. Hardy,
Yes.
Mr. Burgess,
Yes.
Miss Julian,
Yes.
Carol Hubbard,
Yes.
Mrs. Burnett.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
All right. That will bring us to, was that it? That's it, right, for that one? Okay, sorry, my apologies. Okay, thank you so much. I will get better at this. That will bring us to our next item under information and reports. Executive Director of Facilities Management Department, Jahanara Karyan, will present the state of FMD 2024 with project reports and updates.
Hello, good evening. I'm just trying to share it on Airtame, but it's not showing. Just love technology. Okay, I don't know what's happening, but I'm gonna just go ahead and start. Ah. Okay, I apologize. I'm gonna go bring yeah, I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna go bring my paper slide. Sorry, I apologize for this.
Do you mind if we take a brief at ease to work on the technology?
Yeah, let's take a brief recess real quick.
Okay, thank you.
And we are back from recess, and we will turn this back over to Executive Director Jay Carrion. Hi, Jay. Thank you for being here.
I'm here to talk about the state of the Facilities Management Department for FY 24-25. So here's some information and statistics. So we have a total of 29 buildings. We cover about 2.2 million square feet of building, and we have over 500 acres of lands. We deal with management, construction and projects, maintenance, custodial, grounds, theater, and building rentals. Our mission, which is what I always talk to about to my team, is our department ensures a safe, clean, and inviting environment to learn, work, and play. Here are some of the services that we provide. We provide building maintenance, preventive maintenance, vehicle fleet maintenance, utility and energy management. We do project services. We do major maintenance projects as well as minor maintenance projects. We deal with safety and compliance, custodial services, snow removal, security. We deal with emergency responses and theater productions and building rentals. Here are just some work order stats that I wanted to share with you. So in last fiscal year, FY 23-24, there was a total of 15,051 work orders that were created. Our maintenance department, as well as the custodial and grounds, closed out 13,386. That's over 70%, which I think is a great record for us. Our total labor hours was 45,467, and we spent just over $1 million on total cost of parts. So just to kind of give you an idea of where we are right now for this fiscal year, we have created 4,959 work orders. We have so far closed 3,710 work orders. The labor hours so far is 13,744. And the total cost so far is $557,998. Here's just our utility expenditures for last year. The total is $9.3 million. I've given you a breakdown of what that looks like. So a bulk of that goes towards our electricity, which is just over $5 million. Natural gas is about $858,000. Our heating fuel is $793,000. Steam is $1.3 million. Wastewater, which is our sewage, is $72,000. Refuse, $250,000 per year, and our water is $551,000, and that's how it comes up to $9.3 million. Here's just an overview of some of our capital improvement projects that we're working on currently. These are fully funded projects that I put out here. So our state-funded projects, North Pole Middle exterior renovations, about $2.5 million, and our Two Rivers classroom upgrades, which is $454,000. We have our borough-funded projects, which are slated to happen next year. We've got the Lathrop High kitchen upgrade, which is about $1.5 million. Our University Park Emergency elementary site upgrades, around $1.5 million. And then we just got our North Pole High boiler replacement at $2 million. We did say that it was slated for 2026, but we are trying very hard to get that happen next year. Some of our grant-funded projects, Department of Energy, we have the Ann Ween Elementary exterior renovation, and that totals $8 million, including the borough participation share, and we're already in design stage in that. Our school district impact aid projects, we spent $50,000 on the admin building elevators. We also did some Salsha and Howard Luke gutter repairs. On our school district general fund projects, we repaired our North Pole Middle elevator, and that was at $36,000. We are currently doing our Lathrop boiler rebuilds, which is at $50,000, and then we just completed the Midnight Sunfire transfer switch, which was about $40,000. So here are some goals that we have in our department. We want to ensure that our district buildings are safe, clean, and ready for all our staff and students each day. We want to be able to provide preventive maintenance so that our equipment will serve the district for the life of the building, and we will make repairs as needed to keep all buildings and system running correctly. We want to ensure that the community has use of the buildings when the schools are not in session. And we also offer support to other district departments such as network services for installing camera system and the wireless access. We also help nutrition services by keeping all their kitchen equipment up and running. One of our other goals is to provide a vision into the future for building upgrades and school construction to keep pace with the needs of the community. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Ms. Carol Hubbard.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I do have a question on slide 6. I was curious about, I did just some basic math, and I was curious to know, I took the total cost for 23 to 24 and divided it by the total labor hours, and it came out to about $23.89. And then I took 2025 or whatever, 24 from July to October, and I did the total cost divided by the labor hours, and that came out to $40.59, which is almost double. And I was curious about that.
So we talk about the work order stats with the labor parts and the labor hours. So the total labor hours doesn't necessarily always reflect on the types of projects that we're working. So if we're working on some summer school projects, for example, we did the elevator repair. We had some staff that worked on that, but we contracted some of those services out. The parts will be reflected on that because we always have a work order for that, but not necessarily a district maintenance staff that actually worked on that project. So some of the labor parts will be in the work order, but it's not reflected on the hours. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Dulian?
Thank you again for the presentation. I had some questions about the building upgrades plan. So looking towards the future, thank you for providing the information on the capital improvement projects to date. As we are looking at a strategic plan, though, moving forward, can you also provide the future plans and the prioritization of those?
Yes. So I think just before Christmas break, we're going to go over our 6-year capital improvement plan again. So we have a list that we're going to review. And actually, the state just released the FY26, and North Pole High was number 7, which I think is great. So we're going to review, our team's going to get together. We're going to review all of the projects that we've already put in, as well as looking at the replacement and renewal, as well as the types of work orders that we've received. So we have to look at the overall picture. We're not only just looking at the year of the building, we're also looking at the condition. And, you know, there are some elements, outside elements that contribute to lowering the life expectancy of the building. So if, you know, there are just so many different factors that are involved. If there's lots of roof leaks, then we're going to look into those factors. So it's not just necessarily, here's the year of the building that it was built, and then so this is the time that we have to replace it. We also have to look at our work order system and then how much maintenance that we're putting into that. And so that's kind of where we shift our, you know, priority needs when we do that. And then the board will approve that around May, June.
Mr. Dorn?
Thank you for the presentation and getting me some information earlier on some questions. But I just wanted to bring a couple things. One of the slides that I don't think showed up right away is the staffing and the custodial staffing. We have a number of vacancies there, and I know especially in the daytime and people covering other staff covering those types of things. And I believe, and I don't know whether it's to you or to superintendent. At one point in your superintendent report, you had mentioned about contracting out, or where do we stand now in terms of trying to get those filled, trying to get those coverages for the schools?
I'll take that. So the district is actively recruiting for unfilled positions, which we've been doing. As you heard in Mr. Bell's report earlier this evening, we've had consistent challenges, especially on Eielson, filling positions there. And so currently we are looking at contracting out positions at Anderson Crawford, and then 2 of our facilities with FMD and nutrition services, because those have historically been places where we haven't been able to fill positions and can get services there where we need it. We're working with ABM on a small contract to provide those services, and we're hopeful that we might go under contract around December 1st, but we're still in talks with that for those positions.
Great. I know that would be a relief for those schools. May continue.
Follow-up? Yep, go ahead.
Again, also looking at the maintenance, and I bring these up, and I think it's important as we get ready for budget discussions later on. We've been cutting custodial staff over the years. We've been cutting maintenance staff, and even with those cuts, we have vacancies, and the challenges that goes with carrying out that whole list of services that you shared. So I believe you said there are 5 vacancies in the maintenance staff. Those are real specialties fields. How are we doing with that in covering those needs?
So our electronics department is the one that is the most challenging at the moment, because we do require certified NICET fire alarm person. And so that's really been a little challenging to fill. In the meantime, we are contracting out our fire panel system to help us out in that. And then we have a vacancy in our electrical trade group too. And then we still have 3 electrical staff. And so the work has just been divided by those 3. That one just got posted about 2 weeks ago. So hopefully we'll get something, we'll have somebody. But we are looking to contract out some of the work while we try to fill those positions.
Thank you. I have a couple more, but if you want to put someone else.
Yep, Miss Charlie?
My question is also on the work order stats slide, comparing the fiscal year 24 to 25. And I think I briefly heard you touch on it, but I just want to clarify. So July to October, we're 4 months into the fiscal year, but spent about half as much as we did the previous year. Is that because the work is being completed over the summer projects?
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the main costs that you'll see was one of the playground installations that we did over summer, and so that's why you see that high number. It's not a typical year for us to have this high number, but just because we had that playground installation, and that came out of this fiscal year instead of last fiscal year.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Dorn?
In relationship to that, as we head into next year, so with those total cost on parts, we don't expect it to be 1.5 million compared to 1 million last year. Is that correct?
Well, because we've used up some of this year's funds already, that were costs that were from last year to this year, we may see an increase in our parts for this year. But I am actively making sure that we keep those low as much as possible. But if we need to fix something, we're going to have to purchase those items. But we are definitely looking at what we can and can't repair for this year because of the high number that we have right now.
Thank you.
Mr. Doran, go ahead.
On the utility expenditures, in terms of the heating, steam is the most expensive. Is that because we have more buildings, and I assume they're the ones primarily in the Fairbanks downtown area, that we have more buildings on that, or it's a higher cost? Why is steam so much more expensive than the others?
So one of the high reason why there was a high steam cost was Ben Allison, and then that had a really high cost. So we should be seeing a huge reduction in the steam costs for next year. Our military school steam costs are extremely high.
And that's just on Eielson?
That's both on Eielson and Fort Wainwright.
Okay. And the Eielson will be minimal.
We should see
this
a
year.
reduction in the steam costs from the Air Force. Yes.
Okay. Follow up with that.
Go ahead, Mr. Doran.
And we have buildings that we get from the Aurora Power Plant that are steam. Is that correct? Like Lathrop and.
So we
Not
do
sure
have,
what's-
we still have steam for this building and Lathrop. Yep. And I'd have to double check. I think there's one more, but I can't remember the top of my head right now.
And is that a significantly lower? Is that or I shouldn't say significant? Is that at a lower rate of steam costs than on the military basis?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The other thing that I was interested in the utilities is, I believe we have some schools that can be switched over from gas to diesel or fuel back depending on cost factors. Is
Yes,
that correct? And are we building on that?
Yes, we do have dual fuel burners. When we're looking at energy savings, we're being advised by, the energy groups that we should not be doing the dual fuel. So one of the reasons why we're not, switching over to fuel from natural gas, depending on the cost, is because natural gas is cleaner. And so when we end up using fuel, we end up using more maintenance staffing to clean. And so you may be saving by switching over to fuel for this week, but then you're sort of spending more on the maintenance side. So it doesn't really make sense for us to do the switch. And plus we don't have the capacity to go around and switching them over. The only time that we do that if there's an emergency.
Okay, great. That's really helpful. Thank you.
I'm going to check with the board. Hang on. Anybody else have anything? Okay, go ahead and continue, Mr. Dorn.
Okay, and this is my last one on the list. Under goals, the last bullet is, and it was mentioned briefly in terms of the strategic planning. Could administration perhaps address how this FMD and the different things they're doing will be involved in the strategic plan and the implementation of that as we go forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the facilities side, there's been a lot of conversations regarding deferred maintenance and ongoing costs of yearly labor costs to maintain buildings. And so that will certainly be a part of the conversation as we look at facility consolidations in terms of buildings that cost the district quite a bit to maintain, as well as buildings that have systems that are end of life or need serious repair. Beyond that, FMD plays a critical role in the education of our students. So Jay is so soft-spoken and doesn't brag as much as she should on her team and herself, but they really allow us to do the work day in and day out at our schools. And it's not possible to educate students in our buildings without all the work that FMD does on a daily basis. And so as we look at meeting the goals of our strategic plan and providing excellent educational opportunities for our students, FMD is directly aligned with that. Additionally, the facilities team, which you've been a part of, has talked about specific needs or as we're setting educational visions, what are the building needs that go along with that? And FMD will be right alongside to ensure that the buildings are meeting the educational visions that are set in the strategic plan. To Ms. Doolean's question and comment earlier, we can provide the board with both the borough CIP plan and the state CIP plan, which are pretty extensive. And we'll get that out to the board. And if there's questions or we want Ms. Carry On to come back and kind of provide the board or the community with an overview of what that CIP list looks like and what the vision for the future looks like, that's helpful because as we're talking about the vision for the future, we really do need that strategic investment from both the borough and the state to meet our strategic plan goals. And that's something that we'll have more conversations with the assembly on this year. We didn't include as much information on facilities last year when we presented to the assembly, but there has been an ask from some assembly members to ensure that we include really what our priorities are at the borough. You know, they go through their ranking process of CIP projects borough-wide, but they would like to hear from us on what the impacts of that scoring is and if there's projects that we see a more immediate need for than what it's actually scored at for the borough. So that's something that I'll be working with Jay and Andy on to ensure that we include in our assembly presentation this year.
Follow up, Mr. Dorn.
Quick follow-up. I just want to say I really appreciate your making the point, especially when it comes to the implementation of the strategic plan as that's developed, the importance of FMD being as one of the resources that allows us to provide services for kids, and that we need to keep that in mind both as we look at budgeting and that actual implementation of the strategic plan. So thanks for highlighting that.
Is there anything else from the board? Not seeing anything. Thank you, Ms. Carry On.
You.
Next up will be our board and superintendent comments, and we will start down here with the colonels. Oh, you already gave yours. You're good. Miss Carol Hubbard, any comments? No. Mrs. Hardy.
Yeah, I would just like to thank the administration and the whole team. I know it was a combination of working with UAF students for our early literacy night, as well as so much of our executive director team putting that on. Hearing that 170 people came on a weekend to learn about early literacy is huge, and that's a testament to all the work that you guys put into that to make it happen. So kudos. And the M-Class data is really living up to your motto for this year of consistent growth and endless potential, and that's so great to hear that it's happening all across our district. And once again, to our educators who really put in the day in and day out effort to make that happen. And then the last, we have an unusually very full audience tonight. And thank you. I see students in our audience. I'm assuming probably an assignment from a teacher. But regardless, we are so thrilled to have you here. And I see community members and some, won't call them out by name, but one who has been consistently coming and participating. And it's so great to see people involved in this work and helping to shape our district and make sure that our community is really being heard and that we're doing the best we can for our students. So thank you to you all. It's why we're up here. That's it.
Mrs. Doolean.
Thank you so much. I just want to reflect a little bit on the enrollment numbers. Thank you so much for including that earlier in the report, Dr. Meinhardt. You know, we heard tonight that they're down 635 students, which is expected, but also much more than expected. One of the things that I did prior to the meeting was just referred back to the borough's community planning department's community research quarterly. And the last report was totaling 2023. And if anybody wants to see that, that online publication is in the borough's community webpage section. And their current report shows a steady population decline in our community. So in 2016, there was about 100,605 people that resided in our borough, and in 2023, we had a 6% overall decrease at 94,000. So that's a 6% decrease over 7 years. I'm expecting to see a further decline. So this is trending. And as we move together to right size our district, to meet our current enrollment and population needs, I really just want to reflect on our strengths. We can oftentimes go into a deficit mindset, but I think it's really important that we focus on this as an opportunity. And so I'd like to just, for everyone in the audience, just imagine our community where differences are not seen as barriers, but as the foundation for a more vibrant whole, a place where every voice adds richness to the conversation. And I ask that you reimagine what's possible when we choose to rally together towards a common goal of strengthening our schools for our students. And this work is incredibly hard. It's going to take a lot of input and for us to come together and pull together in the same direction to increase student outcomes. But as Dr. Meinert reported, we're doing it. Their educators are doing it with the M-Class data. And I look forward to these very difficult, very critical conversations, but really focusing on what we're going to build together towards the future. So thank you.
Mr. Shannon, I know you gave one, but anything else you'd like to add for tonight?
Not a whole lot. No, like I said before, we had a lot of really good resolutions passed at OSOC. I'm going to work with the authors to bring those up to the board, get them considered, so we can really hear the perspectives of students not only in this district but across Alaska. I think that's really all I have. I'll send them out when I have them.
Ms. Charlie? No. Mr. Burgess?
Just want to echo Mrs. Hardy's comments. Thanks to the incredible staff of this district, and thanks to the folks who show up. I really encourage students, even if you're here for an assignment, come back anyway. Testify sometimes. We have set it up so that you can testify first on the agenda as soon as public comment is open. So if there's anything on your minds about your schools or the district, please come in and let us know. Your voices are very important. Thanks also to Ms. Carry-On for that presentation on facilities. It's very informative and helpful for us. As we move forward with our facilities plan and strategic planning, that kind of information is critical. So I appreciate it. Other than that, it's election night. I just want to say, whatever the results of the election, I hope that everyone can move forward together, as Ms. Dulian was saying, to really come together as a community, as a state, and deal with the problems that we have rather than being divisive, pointing fingers, that sort of thing. Good luck to all the candidates. I hope everyone has voted already, because not much time left. And that's all I got. Thanks.
Mr. Doran?
Thank you. A couple of things is, one, I just hope that as a school board we might, and a district, keep on our radar, is that the Department of Education and Early Development has indicated they are drafting regulations, guidelines for local funding restrictions. And this is, in just the last 6 months or so, been the fifth major issue that DEED and the Alaska State Administration has targeted districts specifically on. This particular thing. Several districts do support their schools in addition to their local contribution, but they are, as part of their recreation program, supporting students in activities and community events. They and these have been really important in the light of flat funding and declining funding from the state. So getting into local governance is really important. We don't at this point as a borough, but is something that should certainly be kept open and has implications for us perhaps in the future. So I just want to make sure that that is on our radar. And as again, we're seeing some pattern of restrictions on districts and particularly on local governance, which impacts us greatly for offering the best educational experience for the children of our community. And so it is important. I wanted to comment, gee, it's good to see the teaching practices in our schools. We've talked several times this evening, has been referenced the quality of our staff and being in the classroom and watching the clarity of instruction, the use of visuals as well as the verbal interchange between teacher and students, fielding questions. I've had an opportunity to see this in the classrooms and see the patience and the time of going through step by step things are there, and the use of various learning modalities. I'm thoughtful of several student displays where they did learning maps and took topics and then did displays from those graphics from those that are really they're thinking maps that are incredible, journals that integrate the modalities of drawing, words and observation, and then the hands-on science and CTE opportunities. But it is truly impressive that, really what we talk about is effective practices in education, and they are very, very evident in our classrooms. The last two things is, I know this was mentioned earlier, but I wanted to mention it again now that we're being broadcast by KUAC, and really want to express our appreciation for their carrying our meetings and the assembly meetings as they do also, but that the community conversation, the next one is November 18th here in the boardroom. And that is such an important thing in terms of getting input and just ideas generated from the community and is helpful as part of that strategic planning. And then last, do look forward to participating in the Alaska Association of School Boards state conference this coming weekend. It is so important for us as a board for our professional development and the opportunity to really interact with board members from across the state to where we deal with a lot of things in common, but we also have a lot of things that are complementary, and we need to understand each other's needs and services for students, particularly because students come from all over the state to us. And as part of the enrollment report that we got from the superintendent, it highlighted the movement of students out of our district, but also students into our district from within the state. So we're all in this together, and this is a really important opportunity not only to develop our skills, but to work in common for all students. And so appreciate that opportunity.
Thank you, board, and thank you, everybody, for being here. And with that, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.